senior forecaster here at the Weather Service in Raleigh. And we're going to be covering the period today, September 18th through next Wednesday, which is, believe it or not, towards the end of the month. This month's just flying by. Basically, the main headlines is, we're looking at generally a continuation of dry conditions for a good portion of the period. We're also going to be above normal with it. Right now, it looks like that the warmest day could end up being on Saturday. Still looking at where possibly some upper 80s are possible on Saturday. Some of the warmer guidance even suggests there may be a 90-degree reading possible. So pretty warm considering we had such a cool August. But again, mostly dry period through early next week. And then as we get into the middle part of next week and even into the latter part of next week, there's some of the model guidance trying to show increasing rain chances, but we're going to play the wait and see game for now, because very similar to that low pressure system that was off our coast, right? That was supposed to bring us some rain. There's some models showing it being more dry than wet. So we're not completely sold that we're going to see any kind of appreciable rain as we get into the middle part, the later part of next week. So we're going to wait and see on that. Really quick, looking at the 5-day total, you can basically see, most of the rain chances staying well to our west and way to and offshore along the coast. So not expecting any significant rainfall. So it's not surprised to see that the excessive rainfall we are not highlighted for that period, and there's no chances for storms either. So it's going to be a pretty quiet period. Looking at the tropics, we do have Gabrielle that formed, or they named it yesterday, and we do have another area of interest that they're currently monitoring. Right now, when you look at the long-term projections, we are not seeing imminent threats. So right now, things should continue to be quiet for the U.S. mainland in terms of tropical systems. However, when you start looking at some of the long-term projections, like week 2, week 3, maybe getting into October, the overall general thought is that we could see an increase in activity as we start to see mostly the wind shear over the Atlantic starting to decrease. So we'll end up seeing what October ends up being like. When we look at the latest in drought conditions, we're going to start off looking at the 30-day precipitation percent or normal. And I think most of us know this. We can just look outside the window and look at our lawns and see how everything is really browning up if you haven't watered. But we are basically in that 5 to 10% range of normal. So it's really dry out there. So it's not surprised. We're not surprised to see that we're starting to see the abnormal dry conditions developing, and even some portions of eastern North Carolina are now under a moderate drought. It's cool. I think it's going to be really critical here over the next several weeks before we get into the winter months that we start seeing some rainfall, so we can start replenishing our water supply. Looking at the long-term projections over the winter, the seasonal outlooks, we're expecting La Nina to be the main climate weather driver over the winter time. And typically in North Carolina, what that means for us during a La Nina winter is drier conditions than normal. So if we go with these deficits all through the winter time, we could be in some pretty bad shape by the time we get into the spring of next year. Looking at the 8 to 14-day outlook, again, it looks like, we're going to see above normal temperatures continue for the week 2 period. And in terms of rain chances, probably going to be, somewhere around that average. And I wouldn't be surprised if we end up being more below average during that period. So let's hope we can get some rain in here. the graphical HWO, you can see we did have some fog out there this morning. And then you can also see that we have some lightning being highlighted for the basically Saturday through Wednesday. You may be saying, hey, you know, I thought you said it was mostly dry. And all that is indicating is there is a very slight chance of some showers and maybe a storm or two across the extreme eastern portions of our CWA near Sampson County, mostly probably dealing with some type of sea breeze boundary. So we're, again, a pretty quiet period with the hazards being very limited.